Alright, so the next thing we wanted to talk about in the PowerPoint slides is the difference between the population and a sample. So when we have to collect this data for statistical methods, we are either going to take a sample or we're going to poll the entire population. So the difference between these two is when we're talking about the population, that means you polled every possible candidate. You've collected every single piece of information. With a sample, that means we've just gotten a subset. So instead of taking the time and effort to go out and collect data from everything, we're decided, okay, we're going to go with 10%, 20%, 30% of the population. Typically, you're going to see businesses run statistics against samples, just because populations are so large and it's just not. So typically, you're only going to see businesses run statistics against samples. Samples are much more efficient and effective way to gather statistics. A lot of times when you see statistics presented to you, you'll see a percent of an error against statistics, and that's when the sample comes in size. When you only sample a small bit of the population, there is always a risk for error. So let's say you just happen to sample 1,000 people, and those are the 1,000 people out of 1,000,000 that don't like KFC chicken. So there's some percentage of error depending on the size of sample compared to the population. So the key thing is very simple to understand. Populations means you got every single piece of information. You polled every single person. Sample, you just went with a subset. Why do you take a sample instead of studying every member of the population? Money. It takes too much time, money, and effort to sample every single member of a population. We're talking about millions, maybe billions of people if you were talking about a worldwide population. So it's just too much time, too much money, too much effort to get everybody in a population. So you select a sample size and you run your statistics against that sample size. Very common in the industry. The usefulness of a sample in learning about a population. Using a sample to learn something about a population is done extensively in business, agriculture, politics, and government. So businesses do it all the time, the government does it all the time, and a good example that they mentioned in the PowerPoints, television networks consistently monitor the popularity of the programs by hiring Nielsen and other organizations to sample the preference of TV viewers. So we see that all the time, right? Everybody's worried about TV ratings. Oh, what show's number one? What show's number one? Like 2.5 Men. We always say that on a commercial. The #1 comedy in America. How do they know that? Did they go to every single person in the United States and ask them if they were watch 2.5 Men? No, they took a sample. So out of so many million viewers, they take a sample. If you have 1 billion people watching TV, they decided, okay, we're going to sample 50 million. And out of that 50 million, how many people are watching 2.5 Men? So really simply, I mean, that's the difference between a sample and a population. Population, you're getting every piece of information, you're polling every person. With a sample, you're just taking a subset of the population. So keep those simple, clear in your mind, and you won't have any problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up with a summary of type of variables. So when we're talking about variables, we have qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative, non-numeric. Brand of a PC, Dell, Compaq. Marital status, married, single. Hair color, brown, blonde, red. So those are all values, but they're non-numeric. So that's what we mean by qualitative. Quantitative, those are going to be numeric. Within those, we have two types, discrete and continuous. Discrete, it's going to be as children in a family, it can go up. Strokes on a golf hole, TV sets owned. It's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4. It could go up. Continuous, it's going to have an amount of income tax paid. It's going to be set at a cap. The weight of a student, yearly rainfall in Tampa. So continuous, any value within a specified range. Discrete, can only assume certain values. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the 4 levels of measurement. We have the nominal level, interval level, ordinal level, and ratio level. So the nominal level data, the properties, observations of a qualitative variable can only be classified and counted. There is no particular order to the labels. Ordinal level data. Data classifications are represented by sets of labels or names, high, medium, low, that have relative values. So like hot, we're talking about temperature, right? Hot could be 80 to 90 degrees. Cold could be 40 to 60 degrees. They're going to have some type of range. They try to label it. Interval level data. Data classifications are ordered according to the amount of the characteristics they present. So if you're talking about age 1 would be first, down to 100 would be last. Ratio level data, particularly all quantitative data, is recorded on the ratio level measurement. Ratio level is the highest level of measurement. Data classifications are ordered according to the amount of the characteristics they possess. Equal differences in the characteristics are represented by equal differences in the numbers assigned to the classifications. So why know the level of measurement of data? The level of measurement of data dictates the calculations that can be done to summarize the data. So the more data you have, the more in depth you can go into. So that's why you need to know the level of measurement. To determine the statistical test that should be performed on the data, you'll also have to know the level of measurement. So the summary of the characteristics for levels of measurement. Levels of measurement, recap, we have nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Nominal data may only be classified. Ordinal, the data is ranked. Interval, you have meaningful differences between values. Temperature, like I said, you're going to classify it as hot, cold. Dress size, large, extra large. The ratio, meaningful 0 point and ratio between values. So the number of patients seen is a ratio. Number of sales calls made. Distance to class, ratio. Alright, so with that, that's pretty much the highlights of Chapter 1. So now you have the video lecture, you have the PowerPoint slides, you're supposed to be reading Chapter 1 in the book. You have our discussion questions this week, we have our assignment, and then we'll also have a quiz, which I hope to get out there tomorrow. I'll send the link out for that. So it's a very busy week. We only have 6 weeks together. The last week is pretty much your exam, any final project that might exist. So please, don't get behind. And like I said in my introduction, please don't make excuses. Very rarely do I excuse any lateness on assignments or lack of participation. Participation is a large part of your grade. So let's make sure we get things done and stay on top of it. And have a good week. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you again next week. And I look forward to reading your assignments and seeing all the discussion this week. So until next time, bye.